So we will learn a detail about the microorganisms because before we go to the actual antibiotics or antibacterials, we should know about the mode of the working of these things on different components of the microorganisms are concerned. So these microorganisms are the minute living bodies and are not perceptible to the naked eyes. And they cause a number of diseases in the man, animals, and include the bacteria, fungus, virus, and protozoa. So because of this thing, we need to know the structure of all the individual candidates. So in the present chapter, a short description of types and properties of the bacteria will be given for better comprehension of the action of the antimicrobial drugs. Anyway, we are going to discuss. The properties of the fungi, virus, and protozoa are discussed in the future chapter wherever it is relevant. So bacteria, at this time need not say, but very fast I will go with this particular chapter is concerned. The bacteria, it's a prokaryotic cell. Pro means before, karyo means life. So it is the single cell and as ubiquitous in the habitat of, on the earth and multiply asexually by the simple fusion, binary fusions, and many more. And the bacterial cells are about 1/10 of the size of the eukaryotic cells. So, and are typically 0.5 to 5 micrometers in length. Whereas the bacteria display a wide diversity of the shapes and sizes. And there is a vast majority of the bacteria which are harmless they are of very beneficial, especially in our intestine and saliva, etc. Hundreds of bacteria are there, and they are very much required for the living being. And some bacteria are pathogenic and cause the infectious diseases. Whereas the majority of the bacteria in this earth are not pathogenic, and only few are pathogenic in nature. Then the types of the bacteria are classified as the basis of the number of the characters such as the morphology, staining reactions, physiological properties, and antigen structure. So all these are the criteria for the bacteria classification, and depending upon the shape, three main forms of the bacteria are classified. Like the one is the spherical shape, which is called as the coccus, and another one is the cylindrical space structure, that's called as the bacillus, and the spiral phlegmatus are there. These are identified and different structures. Of course, on the basis of staining reactions, they are grouped as the gram negative and gram positive, and also some of the bacteria are classified as the acid fast bacteria. And other properties like the requirement for the oxygen, they are called as the aerobes. Then without oxygen, some bacteria are going to survive, and they are called as the anaerobic microorganisms. And the other classification is the anaerobes of some bacteria have the preference over the oxygen, but live in the absence of also. So they require the oxygen for their growth and multiplication, but they will live without the oxygen also. They call as the facultative anaerobes, whereas others grow only in absence of the oxygen, and they are called as the obligate anaerobes. So these basic things you all might have already learned in the microbiology, but this is just brushing up the knowledge. And structure of the bacterial cell need to be learned very properly because the penicillins or the beta-lactam antibiotics are going to act on the cell wall of a bacteria. So a typical bacterial cell is composed of the capsule, then cell wall, the cell membrane, cytoplasm containing genetic material, and ribosomes, and the appendages such as the flagella and pili. So these bacteria do have the intracellular materials, maybe nucleic acid, note there, cell membrane, cytoplasm, and everything, and also some appendages like just like tail-like structure, like the flagella and pili. So unlike the cells of animals and other eukaryotes, bacterial cells do not contain a nucleus. That's a important thing. They do not contain a nucleus and rarely harbor membrane-bound organelles. So they also do not have the membrane-bound organelles like many of the pumps, etc. And certain species of bacteria can produce spores or endospores, just like the anthrax bacteria. So they are the bacilli and are going to form spores. And the capsule, a bacteria produce an extracellular layer of the polymeric material called as the glycocalyx. Especially in some bacteria, this polymeric material forms a well-defined structure called as the capsule. So the capsule is the outer coat, and here you can see in this particular diagrammatic representation, this is the capsule. Outermost coat of the bacteria is known as the capsule. So this is the cell wall, the area which is in yellow color, it is cell wall, whereas the outer one is the capsule. Whereas the inner, there is a thin membrane is there, that is called as the plasma membrane. Whereas the inside the bacterial cell, there are varieties of the liquid substances, and that is called as the cytoplasm or the plasm. So the ribosomes are the minute tiny structures inside the cells, and the plasmid is the one just like the genetic material. This is the plasmid, and the small tail-like structures are called as the pili or pili. So the long tail-like structure with green color here, it's a bacterial flagellum, and the another structure which is called as the circular form of the DNA, it's called as the nucleoid. So which is inside present, just it is replacing the nucleus, very similar to that of the nucleus. Once again, the capsule is outer coat, cell wall is next coat, then plasma membrane, then cytoplasm, the ribosomes, the plasmid, pili, then the flagellum. All these are the structures of a bacteria. So the capsules usually have a halo around the organisms and are mostly distinguished by the special staining methods. And also they can be visible under the electron microscopy or by immunological methods using antisera specific for the capsular antigens. So these are all the techniques, staining technique, and you can see under the electron microscopy and also by varieties of the serological or immunological tests. And most capsules are composed of the polysaccharides. But in some species, example Bacillus anthracis, the capsules are made up of polypeptides. So this is not so uniform. So the main function of the capsule is protection of the bacteria from adverse environmental conditions such as the desiccation, means the lack of deprival of the oxygen, the desiccation or the water. So this is desiccation, means desiccator is the one which removes the water. So this is required, especially the capsule is required for the protection of the bacteria from the adverse environment. So in vivo, the capsule facilitates the adherence of the pathogenic bacterium to the host cell, which is one of the important steps, especially in the getting the pathogenic changes, especially in the host cells. So this may also interfere with the phagocytosis by host defense mechanisms. Whereas once again, this is to regain. So once again, the red membrane is called as the capsule, that is the outermost membrane. This one is called as the capsule, whereas the cell wall is the structure which is coated in the yellow. Then the nucleoid or the DNA material is present inside the cell, and the plasma membrane is a very thin membrane, especially which is beneath the cell wall. And these are all called as the mesosomes, invagination of the cell membrane, and ribosomes, and entire these structures are present in the cytoplasm. And of course, this is not having the pili and the bacterial flagellum or flagella is a trail-like structure. So that's how it goes. Whereas the cell wall is very important for us because the beta-lactam antibiotics are going to act on the cell wall. So it is a tough, rigid, porous framework covering the bacterial cell. And the cell walls of the bacteria are thick with comparison to the mammalian cells and are made up of a peptidoglycan, a polymer unique to the prokaryotic cells. So this peptidoglycan layer is very unique to that of the bacteria. And peptidoglycan imparts rigidity to the bacterial cell, or else the bacteria will lyse. The pili, not found in all bacteria, are extension of the cell wall, just invaginations of the cell wall. The cell wall of the bacteria protects them from the mechanical damage and the osmotic lysis. Whereas due to its rigid structure, cell wall helps to maintain the higher tonicity or the osmolality inside the cell than the surrounding environment. So that it makes a physical barrier in between the other environment and the bacterial cytoplasm, or else the bacteria get lysed. So it is a very good protective layer. So here also you can see the pili, especially the hairy structures which are outside the cell are called as the pili, and all the bacteria will not have this pili. All the bacteria will not have this thing. Only few of the bacteria will have the pili, whereas these are all the common structure, especially the cell wall, then the cell membrane, then the cytoplasm, the nuclear material, then the capsule, outer capsule, then also the flagellum and villi. These are all the common structure of a bacteria. So for the movement of the bacteria, the flagellum is very much required. Then the cell walls of the bacteria differ from chemical composition and structure with account for variation in their pathogenicity and staining characteristics. So this is important for the detection of the bacteria because the gram stain is the one which differentiates the gram positive and gram negative bacteria. So as bacterial cell wall is the site of attack of the important antibiotics, example, the totally beta-lactams, what we can say, it is the penicillin, its structure and composition in gram negative and the gram positive bacteria have been detailed in future. So the gram positive bacteria, so the beta-lactam antibiotics are only acting on the gram positive bacteria except the broad spectrum beta-lactams. So the gram positive bacteria have relatively thick uniform cell wall. So the Thecva cell wall, which is covering the bacterial cell, is thick in case of the gram positive. So they take more and more stain. So in these organisms, the major portions of the cell wall consists of the peptidoglycan that supports the lipoprotein cell membrane. So that's the important thing. And another important component of the gram positive cell is the polymer of the glycerol phosphate or the ribitol phosphate known as the teichoic acid. So it is also component of the gram positive bacteria, the teichoic acid, a major cell wall surface antigen of the gram positive bacteria. Number one, the thick cell wall and also the teichoic acid are the characteristic feature of the gram positive bacteria. Whereas the gram negative bacteria, the gram positive bacteria cell walls contain very little liquid, whereas the gram negative, they contain very little lipid layer. So the thick layers of the peptidoglycan in the gram positive cell wall stain purple, right? It is the thin gram negative walls appear, it is pink. So the gram positive bacteria, they stain purple, whereas the gram negative bacteria, they will appear pink in nature. And here there are all the few of the selected pathogenic bacteria which are belonging to gram positive and negative. So coming to the first one, the Streptococcus. So varieties of the Streptococcus are there. They are all the facultative anaerobes or aerobic because they may require oxygen or may not require oxygen. Whereas the Staphylococcus, they require the oxygen for their living thing is concerned. And some of the Staphylococcus, especially the Staph aureus, they produce the very severe endotoxins, so which are very, very dangerous. So the second one is the gram-negative cocci. Once again, the gram-negative cocci. Here, the species like the Neisseria, especially the gonorrhea, may caused by the Neisseria, and it's an anaerobic bacteria. Whereas the third is the gram-positive rods, are the bacilli, especially the Bacillus anthracis and Cereus. They are all the aerobic facultative anaerobes. So they may require the oxygen or may not, especially facultative anaerobes. And from spores, they are going to germinate and yield vegetative cells. Whereas the Clostridium is also gram-negative bacteria rods, and varieties of the Clostridium are there which are causing different diseases in cattle. So Clostridium shoei, which causes the black waters, tetanus, welchii, septicum, botulinum, which causes botulinum, difficile, and the perfringens. These are all the subvarieties of the Clostridium species. So these are the obligate anaerobic, especially they form spores, and some species produce toxins inside or outside the animal body, especially the Clostridium tetani and the Clostridium, especially the botulinum. They cause, they secrete the bacterial endotoxins, which are very, very pathogenic in nature. Whereas the Erysipelostrix or Erysipelotrix rhuziopathiae is going to cause the myriophyllid, whereas the Corynebacterium, especially Pyogenes, Corynebacterium renale or equi, etc., they are aerobic facultative anaerobes. So, whereas the Listeria is also causing the circling disorder, especially the Listeria monocytogenes, it is a aerobic microorganisms. Whereas the Nocardia species is, of course, it is the gram-negative one, and some strains produce the spores, and they are all the acid-fast bacteria. So the gram-negative or rods or the spirals are the Enterobacteriaceae. So there the gram-negative rods are the E. coli. It is a facultative anaerobe, means the either in the presence of the oxygen or in the absence, it is required. Whereas the Enterobacter, especially the Enterobacteria species, Enterobacteria aerogenus and etc. So these are all the facultative anaerobes. Whereas the Proteus mirabilis, Proteus vulgaris, and etc. These are all the, especially the Klebsiella is a opportunistic pathogen and processes the capsule. So we may turn down. So these are all the opportunistic bacteria. Whereas Salmonella, which causes the typhoid, Salmonella typhi, Salmonella pyllorum, Gallinarum, Typhimuricum, all these are the facultative anaerobes and cause different diseases. Whereas the Serratia causes, it is a facultative anaerobe, the Shigella. So these causes the Shigella, what you call as the Flexnerae, and many more are there. They're all the facultative anaerobe. Whereas the Shigella is a strict pathogen, and Yersinia causes yersiniosis, especially it is a facultative anaerobic. So these are all the examples of the gram-positive and gram-negative microorganism. So coming to the first one, that is the peptide glycan. So it is also known as the murine. and is a linear strands of the two alternatively having the amino sugar, the N-acetyl glucosamine, that is NAG, and N-acetyl muramic acid. So these having the cross linkage through the peptide side chains. There are peptide side chains. Anyway, we will see the structure. So the composition of peptide cross links is characteristic of the individual microbial species. So in many bacterial species, the peptide side chains consists of the tetrapeptide like one containing L-alanine, D-isoglutamic acid, or it's also known as the glutamic acid, and L-lysine and L and D-alanine. So at one end, the tetrapeptide is attached to the carboxyl group of N-acetyl muramic acid or the NMA, and the other end is attached to adjacent polypeptide chain through a short connecting peptide like the pentaglycine, especially in case of the microorganism like the Staph aureus, whereas the pentaglycine links to tetrapeptides. We'll see how it is going to see. Here, this is the most basic structure of the gram positive, especially the and gram negative bacteria. So, especially in case of gram positive bacteria, what we can see is this is the peptidoglycan layer, and it's also called as it's also called as the cell wall. So this is the cell wall, especially in case of the gram positive bacteria. Total cell wall is made up of peptidoglycan, whereas in case of the gram negative bacteria, there is outer membrane with then the peptidoglycan layer is very thin when compared to the gram positive bacteria. Whereas the plasma membranes are very similar in both of the bacterial layer, and the composition is same. They may contain certain channels or the receptors also. So the peptidoglycan consists of the main component of the gram positive bacterial layer, whereas it is a minor component, especially in case of the gram negative bacteria. Here also you can see another diagrammatic representation which says, so this is the peptidoglycan chain, which is containing of different amino acids, and in case of the gram negative bacteria, this is containing the lipopolysaccharides. Here, whereas the components of the cell wall are the peptidoglycans. Here, the lipopolysaccharide, then certain porons are there. Porin, which is a tunnel-like activity. Then also the lipoproteins are here, which are binding with that of the lipopolysaccharide membrane. Whereas the periplasmic space, it's less in case of the gram negative, and of course little more in case of the gram negative bacteria. So the cytoplasmic membrane, a common structure in almost all the gram positive or negative microorganisms. So to remember once again, in next these are all the explained that the lipopolysaccharide chain is there. The rest, these are all the outer membrane consists of the lipopolysaccharides, whereas the peptidoglycan is the outer membrane, whereas then the periplasmic space and cytoplasmic membrane. So these are all the structures of the cell wall. So important to remember are the bacterial cell wall of the gram negative, gram positive bacteria is totally made up of the peptidoglycans. So it's very thick here, whereas its thickness is less. Whereas the outer membrane is made up of lipopolysaccharide, lipid and polysaccharides, and it is also containing the peptidoglycan, but its thickness is less. So that's how the difference between the gram positive and gram negative bacteria. So this is the cross section of the bacteria showing the peptidoglycan layer, which is small here. I think by this time you might have understood. And the periplasmic, peri means the above or below plasmic space, and the plasma membrane. So above the plasma membrane, periplasmic is there, and the plasma membrane is here, and the outer membrane is also called as the lipopolysaccharide and protein membrane here. So these gram-positive bacteria to lack the outer membrane, which is consisting of the lipopolysaccharides. So this is extract structure, especially in case of the gram-negative bacteria. So the things that are absent in case of the gram-negative bacteria is, number one, the outer membrane, that is the lipopolysaccharide and the protein membrane. So coming here, this is the same. So here we can just correlate. The outer membrane is having the lipopolysaccharide in case of gram-negative bacteria with the porins, etc. Whereas these are all called as the lipoprotein, lipid and protein. So lipoprotein and the peptidoglycans also, they are the thin. So the same is reflected in this picture. So the outer layer is the peptidoglycan, this one, whereas the here, the special structure is the lipopolysaccharide protein structure. Then the peptidoglycan forms a completely continuous covalent structure around the cell, consisting of the backbone of the, especially the cell wall, and it provides the structural strength to the bacteria, as well as it helps in counteracting the osmotic pressure of the cytoplasm. And also the cell wall of the gram-positive bacteria may contain up to 100 layers or 50 to 100 layers of the cross-linked peptidoglycan constituent, about the 90% of their dry weight. So the major portion of the gram-positive bacteria is the cell wall. So if there is no cell wall, they will never survive. So it is around 90% of their weight. So this is contrary to the gram-negative bacteria, which contain only few peptidoglycan layers, constituting only around the 10% of their dry weight. So these are all the differences between the gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria. So the presence of high levels of peptidoglycan is the preliminary determine of the characterization of bacteria of the gram-positive. So the peptidoglycan or cell wall is totally made up of the peptidoglycans. So it is 90%. Then biosynthesis of the peptidoglycans, because many of the steps in these are inhibited by the beta-lactam antibiotics and the many more bacteria, especially the cephalosporins also. So the stage 1 here, the N-acetyl muramyl pentapeptide, a reoccurring unit of the peptidoglycan backbone, is synthesized in the form of the UDP or the uridine diphosphate. So N-acetyl muramyl peptide, dipeptide. So it is a unit of peptidoglycan chain, the small bead-like structure. And the product uridine diphosphate N-acetyl muramyl pentapeptide is also called as the PARC nucleotide. So the PARC is the person who discovered it, and hence it is the name of the PARC nucleotide. So the uridine diphosphate N-acetyl muramyl pentapeptide, usually called as the PARC nucleotide, and it is synthesized in the cytoplasm from its precursor, that is the N-acetyl glucosamine, NAG, N-acetyl glucosamine, phosphoenol pyruvate, and 5 amino acid units like the L-alanine, D-alanine, this glutamic acid, L-lysine, D-alanine, and the D-alanine. So these are all the components. And this synthesis of this spark nucleotide, a short chain of the amino acid, occurs in several steps, out of which the formation of the dipeptide D-alanine and its addition to the tripeptide side chain. So these are all the chain links and to form a pentapeptide. So tetrapeptide is converted to a pentapeptide of recurring sugar unit, which is also important. And the formation of the D-alanine involves the prior racemization of the L-alanine by the enzyme racemase and then condensation by the enzyme D-alanine synthetase. So varieties of the enzymatic reactions are present here. Then the D-cycloserine, an antibiotic, a structural analog of D-alanine. This is replacing the original amino acid and forms the inhibits the racemase enzyme and synthetase enzymes. And here the stage 1, what we are discussing now, it is consisting of the synthesis of the precursors, especially earlier. That's the first thing, that is the stage 1 is synthesis of the precursors. So here the glucose is converted to N-acetyl glucosamine. So please remember the short forms, especially the synthesis of the precursor, because in every step the bacteria is going to act in, especially antibiotics are acting on the different parts. So the glucose, especially in case of the bacteria, they are converted to N-acetyl glucosamine, that is NAG. So the basic moiety is converted to NAG. So this is the NAG. So the UTP is converted to uridyl diphosphate and it is cleaved. Then in there the UDP NAG means the uridyl diphosphate and N-acetyl glucosamine, it is converted to the under the influence of the varieties of the enzyme to UDP NAM. So the thing is here the phosphoenol pyruvate is the one which is going to catalyze this thing, and the enol pyruvate transferase is the enzyme, and the drug which is going to inhibit this first step is the phosphomycin. So then the UDP is converted to UDP NAM, and under the influence of this L-alanine D-glucosamine and L-alanine L-lysine, the UDP is once again it is formed, and it is going to form the UDP NAM, N-acetyl uramic acid. So the NAM, this is the tripeptide. These are going to coming and binding here. Whereas the cycloserine is a antibacterial, it's going to act on the conversion of L-alanine to D-alanine and formation of this particular chain, that is the D-alanine is inhibited. So two D-alanines, this process is inhibited, whereas later this UDP N-acetyl uramic tripeptide is converted to UDP NAM or N-acetyl uramic acid pentapeptide. So it's also called as the UDP NAM PP. So this is the structure, how the bacterial synthesis takes place. The glucose is there, then it is converted to N-acetyl glucosamine, or it's also known as the NAG. And this is the structure. Then under the influence of the UTP, it is converted to, that's the UDP. So under the influence of the UTP, it is converted to UTP NAG. So the uridyl diphosphate plus N-acetyl glucosamine are combined to UDP NAG. Later, it is converted to UDP N-acetyl uramic acid under the influence of the phosphoenol pyruvate, whereas the enol pyruvate transferase is the enzyme. So this is inhibited by phosphomycin, whereas under this UDP NAM is converted to UDP NAM tripeptide because the three amino acids are going to join here, which is to form the UDP NAM tripeptide. So this UDP NAM tripeptide is converted to UDP NAM pentapeptide. That's the first stage especially. So of course, the cycloserine is going to inhibit the conversion of L-alanine to the D-alanine, that's the dipeptide. And here you can see the gram-negative bacterial cell walls. These are all the content, especially this is a chain, peptidoglycan chain, and different amino acids are joined together to form the bacterial cell wall. Here, yes, especially the peptidoglycans of the chain. Then here you can see the peptidoglycans. So there is a cross linking between the bacterial cell wall. There is a the importance is the peptidyl dipeptidase. So here I think you can appreciate this particular thing. The UDP NAM N-acetyl uramic acid is under the influence of the uridine diphosphate. It's going to be converted to uridine triphosphate. So this becomes the building block of the particular cell wall is concerned. That is the peptidoglycan moiety. So this is how the structure ultimately it is going to be formed. So ultimately the here you can see the L-alanine and the D-alanine, they are going to combine with that of the uridine, the NAM, L-alanine and the D-glucose. Whereas the another that's called as the mesodiaminophilic acid is coming and it's binding with this particular complex to form the UDP N-acetyl muramic acid peptidase. So this comes later. So this is known as the bacterioprenol. The earlier the cell membrane will be there because this is the cytoplasm, then this is the exterior. So it comes inside the bacteria and the UDP dissolves in the cell membrane. Whereas this bacteriophenol, it carries the peptide NAM, NAG peptidase. So it carries it outside, hence then you can see that the bacterioprenol, once again, it's going to utilize the energy and brings the peptidoglycan, N-amyl muramic acid, and N-acetyl glycine pentapeptide is bound to a particular cell wall is concerned. So finally, this step will be formed here because this is the chain which is D-alanine and D-alanine, whereas it is going to have the structures, especially the D-alanine, and here also you can see that all these do contain the alanine structure, especially the particularly the structure, peptidoglycan structure. Whereas the stage 2 is the UDP acetyl muramyl pentapeptidase, or it's also known as the final product of the stage 1 is the pentapeptide, that is PARC nucleotide, and the UDP acetyl glucosamine, and these are linked to form a long polymer with the release of UDP nucleotide. And in this stage, especially the completed N-acetyl pentapeptide is transferred enzymatically from UDP to a membrane-bound lipid intermediate, that's the and caprynyl phosphate. So to the N-acetyl muramyl pentapeptide attached to the especially the another substance, that is the andiprenyl phosphate, is added to N-acetyl glucosamine related by the UDP that's the UDP energy to form the recurring disaccharide unit of the peptidoglycan backbone. So these are all the sequential events that's happening, especially while they forming the cell wall. And this is the second stage wherein which the especially the penta this phosphatase especially, so this is converted from the bacteriprenol is the one, and dephosphorylation which recycles the bacteriophenol. So this bacteriophenol is the one. Bacteriphenol is the carrying molecule of all these amino acids, and ultimately the peptidoglycan synthesis takes place because of the cross-linking between the different, this is NAG, NMine, uramic acid, and all these are leading to formation of the peptidoglycan synthase enzyme. Ultimately, the peptidoglycan is formed, and the bacitracin is the one which inhibits the phosphatase enzyme, especially the phosphorylation is totally inhibited. Then here there is a small video about the cell wall synthesis is concerned. So please see that this is, if you cut open the bacteria, it is having the different structure, especially the bacterial cell wall, which is magnified later, and this is the cytoplasm. And later, this bacterial cell wall itself is the main structure which is going to have the particular, especially the gram-positive bacteria. So this is enlarged here, which is containing periplasm. Then this is the cytoplasmic membrane, and inside the bacterial cell, there is the cytoplasm is there. So usually, any antibiotic need to act on the bacteria should pass through this particular this thing. Then this is the peptidoglycan layer, which is consisting of the several subunit. So this is the N-acetylmuramic acid, then the N-acetyl glucosamine, especially this is NAG, N-acetyl glucosamine. the okay cross-linking peptide chains are the one. The short linking peptide chains are the subsequently added to N-acetyl muramyl pentapeptidase. I think you might have observed that thing in the video. The length and components of the peptide chains with vary species, especially the pentaglycine in the staph aureus. The entire disaccharide unit, which is cross-linking peptide chain, is then transferred to a growing end of the peptidoglycan polymer. The complete unit is cleaved from the membrane-bound phospholipid, then the decapronol. So the cleaving reaction is inhibited by the vancomycin and also the bacitracin type of the antibiotic. So whenever we are going to learn the mechanism of action of the different antibiotics, so they are acting at the different sites. So please remember all these basic structures are concerned. Then step 3, the third and final stage. Yes, we have seen it already, but once again the explanation is the peptidoglycan synthesis involves the completion of the cross-link between parallel peptidoglycan chains through a trans-peptidation reaction. So in this stage, the terminal glycine residue of the peptidoglycan bridge is linked to D-alanine, the fourth residue of the peptidoglycan chain of the adjacent peptidoglycan chain through a membrane-bound transpeptidase. So whereas the terminal or fifth, the pentadoglycan side chain of the adjacent peptidoglycan chain through the membrane-bound transpeptidase enzyme. So that's called as the penicillin binding protein. So this is the graphical representation or the pictorial application of the video. Same thing. There will be a cross reaction between the transpeptidase, especially. So this is the enzyme which is going to transpeptidase, the enzyme which is going to combine the different amino acid moieties with that of the N-acetyl glucosamine and N-acetyl muramic acids. So the neighboring peptidoglycan chains are cross-linked to their peptide side chains, and this reaction is catalyzed by a special enzyme that is called as the transpeptidase, and this is also known as the penicillin binding proteins. So penicillins will come and bind with that of this thing, and they will inhibit the cross-linking of the amino acids. And this reaction is usually inhibited by the penicillins, and this is the penicillin binding proteins. And the all beta-lactam antibiotics, they inhibit the transpeptidase enzyme. So next, we are going to learn about the beta-lactam antibiotics. This is going to cross, whereas the step 3 is the terminal, or it's released from the chain. And here, especially in case of the E. coli, transpeptidase catalyzes a peptide bond formation between the D-alanine and L-glycine. Ultimately, the N-acetyl glucosamine and N-acetyl muramic acid are so. This is the structure. How there is a small difference between the structures. Instead of L-lysine, the D-alanine is there. So whereas in case of Staph aureus, the D-alanine moiety is present instead of the L-lysine. And here this is a schematic representation of arrangements of the peptidoglycan linkage in case of the bacterial cell wall. So the N-acetyl muramic acid and NAG, they are going to form the long chain, and they will be binded with L-alanine, D-glucosamine, DAP, and D-alanine, and etc. So these are the pentaglycine cross links between the different chains, and this is especially in case of the gram-negative bacteria, whereas there is a cross linkage between the D-alanine and L-lysine, especially in case of the gram-negative bacteria. So this is the smaller difference, especially the cell wall formation. So the NAM is N-acetyl muramic acid, NAG, N-acetyl muramine.